A very good morning to all the first year students. I welcome you back to the physics webinar session. In the previous session, Subramanian Swami sir has started the first chapter in our intermediate physics textbook. Today, he will be dealing with the second part of the chapter, physical world. As I have told you earlier, sir is a very acclaimed uh, lecturer. His previous experience was with huge corporate colleges like Narayana, Tetrahedron, etc. So we are very happy to invite M.V. Subramaniam Swami sir to this webinar session. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, sir. Good morning, children. Welcome back to the physics webinar session for Unit 1 Physical World, Part 2 of the lesson. I am Subramaniam and I will be taking you through this webinar for this lesson. Shall we move ahead? Yeah. So let me first start with the learning objectives for this particular lesson. What are the learning objectives? Let us see. Fundamental forces in nature, nature of physical laws. So these are the two learning objectives which we will be looking at in this particular webinar. And let's go ahead. Before I start this webinar session, let us recall some information what we have studied in the first part of this webinar. Science is exploring, experimenting, and predicting from what we see around us. Physics deals with the study of the basic laws of nature and their manifestation in different phenomena. These are the 2 points which we have dealt extensively in the first part of the webinar. Let us now move ahead, children. Are we ready for this session? Yes. Let's go ahead. Oh, again, our thinking man is back. What is he thinking? Let us see. So the moment I talked about fundamental forces, the question what is coming into your mind is, what is force? Do you remember what is force? Yes, I hope all the science students have studied very well in their school level. They all know what is force. Can you guess what is force? Yes. A push or pull on an object is called force. This everybody remembers. A push or pull on an object is called force. So what does the force do? Let us see. Force is needed to push, carry, or throw objects, or deform or break them. So force is needed to push the object. So let us say you are pushing some cycle. You need a force to push the cycle. Let us say you are carrying a bucket of water. You need a force to carry the bucket of water. Or throw objects. Let us say you are throwing a ball while playing. To throw the ball, you need some force. Deform, the word deform. Here deform means changing the shape. The word deform means changing the shape. So to change the shape of a body also, you need some force. Like for example, you are having a sponge and you are pressing it. What happens to the shape of the sponge? It will become deformed. Deformed meaning changing. The shape is changing. Breaking. Let us say you are having a wooden stick in your hand and you break the stick. To break the stick, you need a force or not? So you need a force to break the stick also. So these things you studied at school level. I have only demonstrated them to make you comfortable with the particular topic. Okay, to just remind you of the important concepts. Okay, let's move ahead, children. So there are several kinds of force which we come across. Let's see what are the different kinds of force we come across. Number one, gravitational force. This everybody knows. When you drop a body, it falls towards the ground. And why do you tell that the body comes towards the ground? Because there is some gravity between the body and the ground. So the gravitational force is pulling the body towards the ground. This is the first one. Muscular force. What is muscular force? Can you remember, children, your school level physics? Muscular force. When you are lifting a body, like for example, I kept a book on the table, I am lifting it, or I kept a box on the table, I am lifting it, then I need something called as muscular force. Yes or not? The next one, friction. What is friction? Do you remember friction, children? When, for example, you are pushing an object on the floor, after going some distance, it will stop. The reason for that is there is some friction between the ground and the surface of the body. So the friction between the two surfaces in contact is responsible for stopping the body. That is called friction. You studied about friction in your 8th class. So not. Do you remember friction, children? Let's move ahead. Next, the force exerted by a compressed or elongated spring. I have a visual coming up for you for this one. Just hold on, children. Okay. Let me move ahead. Then I will show you the visual. Okay. Then tension in the string. What is tension in the string? This is easy to remember. Whenever you are suspending a body with the help of a rope or string, string means a thread, the string becomes tight. The tightness present in the string is called tension. That is called tension in the string. Like for example, I will show you, just a minute. Children, if you see here, see this string, children, it is very loose. Yes or not? It is very, very loose. But the moment I am tying, you see here what I am doing. I tied some object to the string. What happened to the string? It became very tight. Yes or not? See the tightness in the string. This tightness itself is due to the tension in the string. Yes or not? So this is called tension in the string. When you are not having this body, the string is loose. But when you tie this body, the moment you tie it, it becomes tight. Yes or not? That is called the tension in the string. Let me move on. The next force, viscous force in the fluids. This I have already discussed in the first part, I suppose. So viscous forces, like for example, you know that water and oil or honey, if you pour them on the ground, do they all flow similarly? No. Similarly, I am dropping a stone in the water. I am dropping a stone in the honey. where the stone will come down faster, in the water it comes down faster. Yes or not? In the honey, its movement, in the honey or oil, its movement will be slow. So these are this example what I told you shows that there are some forces present in fluids. Such forces are called viscous forces. Let's move on. And one more thing, you will learn more about viscous forces in your first year intermediate fluids lesson. Okay, please remember. Next, buoyancy. This you studied in your school level, 9th class. Buoyancy. What is buoyancy, children? Whenever you immerse a body, either partially or fully inside a fluid, there is some upward force acting on the body. That is called buoyancy. Similarly, the next one, the force due to pressure of a fluid. So whenever there is a fluid, it exerts some pressure. The force due to pressure. This is another type of force. Next one, the force due to surface tension of a liquid. This I told you in the first part of the webinar. Do you remember that, children? I showed you nice water drops on the lotus leaf. Yes or not? That water drops are due to that water drops being spherical are due to a phenomenon known as surface tension. So the surface tension also creates some force. That is a force due to surface tension. Next one, the electric and magnetic forces. This everybody knows. Very, very, you have already studied about this in your school level, yes or not? Very easy to remember also. Like for example, when you kept magnets beside each other, there was some force. Like poles repel, unlike poles attract. Similarly, you learnt in electricity chapter that a positive charge and a negative charge attract each other. And positive charges and negative charges repel each other. So that is what is electric and magnetic force. 11th one, nuclear forces. This is new to you. We will discuss more about this. Interatomic and intermolecular forces and etc. And there are many more such forces. Interatomic and intermolecular. Interatomic meaning the force between atoms. Intermolecular meaning the forces between molecules. So such forces are existing in the nature. These are all some examples of the different types of forces which we are going to come across in our due course of intermediate study. So all these forces and many more are there. So only I've listed some of them here. That's the reason I put the heading several kinds of forces. So not and etc. What does etc. mean? There are going to be some more also. Yes or no? So let's move on. So the different forces seen above arise from fundamental forces in nature. So all these forces which we have discussed here, they are nothing but a part, they are nothing but they can be classified under some fundamental forces in nature. So what are these fundamental forces in nature? Fundamental, or I can also call basic forces in nature. So what are these fundamental forces? Let us try to see. The fundamental forces in nature, children. There are basically 4 fundamental forces in nature. Number 1, gravitational force. Number 2, electromagnetic force. Number 3, strong nuclear force. Number 4, weak nuclear force. So these 4 forces are the fundamental forces in nature. Today we will discuss about each and every type of force. Let us try to understand the nature of each and every type of force. Okay, nature meaning its characteristic. Let us try to understand the characteristic of these forces. Shall we move on? Yes. The first one, gravitational force. So what is gravitational force? The moment we talk about gravitational force, everybody remembers the apple falling towards the earth. So here apple is one body, earth is another body. Apple has some mass, earth has some mass. The two masses, whenever they are there, they are having some force between them. That is called gravitational force. This force is because of the mass of the body. So, what is gravitational force? The gravitational force is the mutual force of attraction between any two objects by virtue of its mass. Here some important words are there, children, which you must remember. Gravitational force is mutual force of attraction. The word attraction, remember attraction. What does word attraction mean? One body pulls the other towards itself, the other one also pulls equally this one towards itself. That means they attract each other. They attract each other. So this, remember, gravitational force is what type of force? Attractive force. And it is acting between any two objects by virtue of its mass. By virtue of its mass. Here, virtue of its mass. This means that because of the mass of the body. Because of the mass. That means if there is mass, compulsorily there will be gravitational force. There are two bodies, let us say, however small they may be. If they are having some mass, there will be gravitational force between them. And it will be always attractive force. It's one of the very, very, very important forces in the nature, children. You remember, children, planetary system, which you studied at school level. The sun, the planets revolving around the sun. All these are nothing but due to the gravitational forces between them. So I will move on. I will try to put up a mathematical formula here, which you studied in 9th class. The gravitational force between two masses m1 and m2, separated by distance r, is F is equal to capital G m1 m2 by r square. This already you studied in your school level. Again, you are going to study in the lesson gravitation in the intermediate first year. And here capital G is known as universal gravitational constant, whose value is 6.67 into 10 power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. So you should read it as per kg square, or you can read it as kg power minus 2 also. Okay, so here the two masses are attracting each other. So m1 attracts m2, m2 also equally attracts m1. So I hope you have understood this. Let me move on. So to emphasize the gravitational force, I am showing you some important examples in our nature. Planetary system, children. Nice photograph of the planetary system. The sun and the planets revolving around the sun. Here, there is gravitational force between the sun and the planets and the planets, okay, and planets and other heavenly bodies. So, any two bodies in the universe, if you take, there will be some gravitational force between them. This is what you must remember. Similarly, you might ask, sir, is there gravitational force between our earth and the moon? See a beautiful photograph taken from the space. This is our earth, this is our moon. So moon is a natural satellite of the earth, everybody knows. And there is gravitational force between moon and the earth. Yes or not? So here again, gravitational force is being visible for us. Let's move on. Again, another image. A satellite. This is an artificial satellite revolving around the earth. So this artificial satellite and the earth, there is some gravitational force between them. And this gravitational force actually provides the centripetal force for the satellite. So here you studied in school level, centripetal force is the force responsible for the circular motion. That force is provided by gravitational force. So let's move on. So what, and a very, very important point, please remember all of you, gravitational force is a universal force, children. Here the word universal meaning, it is acting everywhere in the universe. Do you see gravitational force only on the earth? Do you see gravitational, can you see gravitational force some other place, like for example on the moon? Yes, we see gravitational force on the moon also. There also the same type of gravitational force will be acting. Similarly, gravitational force do you see on Mars? Yes, there also we are able to see the gravitational force. So that means gravitational force acts everywhere in the universe. It's a universal force. So to move on, I am showing you a small example. This everybody saw. If somebody might have missed it, I am putting it again in this webinar. Yes, very nice. Yes or not? See what happened. The scale rubbed against the dry hair is able to attract the pieces of paper. Where did you see this experiment? In school level. Yes or not? Because of electrostatic attraction. So now we are able to see another force. Let's try to understand more about it. So now we study about electromagnetic force, the next type of force. Let us see. The electromagnetic force is the force between charged particles. Electric and magnetic forces in general are inseparable, hence the name electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force is 10 power 36 times stronger than the gravitational force. So let me explain one by one each and every point for you. Electromagnetic force is a force between charged particles. So for example, the force between two positive charges or one positive, one negative charge. The force between them is electromagnetic in nature. The next one, electric and magnetic forces are in general are inseparable. Hence the name electromagnetic force. That means electric forces and magnetic forces are both coming under electromagnetic force. Inseparable. Inseparable means they are all both very, you cannot separate them at all. You cannot talk about them in separation. This is this, this is this. So that is the reason why we gave the name electromagnetic force. Okay, so we will learn more about it in the second year, children. Then the last one, electromagnetic force is 10 power 36 times stronger than gravitational force. 10 power 36 times stronger than gravitational force. 10 power 36, small number, big number, very huge number. That is the strength of electromagnetic force. Let's move on. Let's understand some more points about electromagnetic force. It underlies the macroscopic forces like surface tension, friction, spring force, etc. Gravity is always attractive, while electromagnetic force can be attractive or repulsive. So let us try to understand what does these 2 points mean to us. First one, it underlies the macroscopic forces like surface tension, friction, spring force, etc. Did we not see about surface tension, friction, spring force? So the underlying reason for all these things is electromagnetic force. Similarly, the second point, Gravity is always attractive, while electromagnetic force can be attractive or repulsive. This is an important point, children. Can you explain to me what is the meaning of this? Gravity is always attractive, while electromagnetic force can be attractive or repulsive. So what is the meaning and what is the reason for this? Both we have to understand. Electromagnetic force can be attractive or repulsive. Can you tell me why? Yes, your guess is right. That's right. We have two types of charges, positive and negative. So we can have, like for example, if we are taking two positive charges, they repel each other. Whereas if you take positive and negative charge, they attract each other. That means electromagnetic force can be attractive or repulsive. Whereas gravity is always attractive. Why? Can we have two types of masses, children? Positive mass and negative mass? No. Mass is always positive. That means the gravity is always attractive in nature. So this is the reason for gravity being only attractive in nature. Whereas electromagnetic force can be both attractive or repulsive. Let's move on, children. So I told you that I will tell you about the spring force. Now you see here, I am showing you the nature of the spring force with the help of a GIF. If you see on the screen, there are three images of the spring, children. Concentrate on the image at the center. This is the actual position of the spring indicated by 0 level. Okay. Now observe the spring in the right side of your screen. The moment I pull the spring and release it, what is happening to the spring? It is moving up and down. That means it is executing vertical oscillations. Vertical oscillations. So whenever it is moving away from 0 position, some force is bringing back the spring to the 0 position. That is the restoring force. There is some spring force acting. So if you see carefully, if the spring goes above 0 level, it is getting compressed. If it is coming below 0 level, it is getting elongated. So in the screen, if you see the left of the screen, I am showing the compressed spring. And on the right, you are seeing the spring with the oscillations, both elongated and compressed positions. I hope you have followed. Let me move on. So this is an example to show you the spring force in action. So again, I am showing you water drops on the lotus leaf. Water drops are spherical because of the phenomena called surface tension. That means there is a force due to surface tension. Okay, which is the reason for that, electromagnetic. So electromagnetic force. So now let's come to the next type of force, children. Strong nuclear force. So on the screen, what are you seeing? A familiar image to all of you. The nucleus at the center. Okay. And the electrons revolving around the nucleus. The nucleus. What does the nucleus have inside it? Protons and neutrons. Yes or not? Can you tell me what is the charge of proton? Positive or negative? Yes, you are right. The charge of proton is positive charge. Similarly, what is the neutron? It's a neutral particle. It does not have any charge. So now my doubt is a very simple doubt. Like for example, if I am taking the example of sodium atom, can you tell me how many protons are there inside the sodium atom? 11 protons. And all the 11 protons are sitting inside the nucleus. Yes or not? And all of them are positive in nature. don't they repel each other? Yes, they repel each other. Then how are they sitting inside the nucleus without going away from each other? Repulsion means they will be pulled away. But in spite of the repulsion, they are staying together. So some other force is responsible for binding them together, binding all the protons and neutrons together inside the nucleus. Binding, what is the word binding? Binding meaning keeping them together. So this force is called strong nuclear force that binds the protons and neutrons inside the nucleus. So a strong nuclear force binds protons and neutrons in a nucleus. Please remember, so these protons and neutrons inside the nucleus, they are staying together because of the strong nuclear force. Okay, so if the strong nuclear force is not there, what would have happened? The protons would have gone away. They would have gone away. Literally, they would have run away from each other because of the repulsion. So this strong nuclear force is stronger than the repulsion and is able to bind the nucleons. So you are able to understand one more important point. This strong nuclear force is now must have been stronger than the repulsion force between the protons. That is the reason why it is able to bind them together. So you will learn more about it in your nuclear physics in the second year. Let me move on. So strong nuclear force is attractive force between protons and protons, neutrons and neutrons, protons and neutrons also. That means strong nuclear force acts between protons inside the nucleus, neutrons also inside the nucleus, and also protons and neutrons inside the nucleus. Is this not interesting, children? We know proton, they have charge, but neutron, they don't have charge. Yes or not? That means this strong nuclear force is independent of the charge of the particle. That is what is coming to my mind when I look at this, whatever is put on the screen. The strong nuclear force must have been independent of the charge of the particle. So this is one of the important properties of strong nuclear force. It is independent of charge. So let us learn about some important properties of this strong nuclear force. Strong nuclear force is attractive force. It is 100 times stronger than the electromagnetic force. It is charge independent. And the most important, it is the strongest of all the fundamental forces. It is a very short range force, about nuclear size, 10 power minus 15 meters. It is responsible for the stability of the nucleus. So let us revisit all the points. Strong nuclear force is attractive force. That is already we have explained in detail. It is 100 times stronger than the electromagnetic force. This also we have understood. Because it is stronger than the repulsion, that is the reason why it is able to bind them together. It is charge independent. This also we have understood. It is the strongest of all the fundamental forces. So now in the course of our webinar, we saw that electromagnetic force is stronger than gravitational. More than electromagnetic force, now nuclear force is stronger. That means this is the strongest of all the fundamental forces. It is a very short range force, about nuclear size, 10 power minus 15 meters. That means that the nuclear force is acting in a very small range, that is within the nucleus. You know what is the size of the nucleus? 10 power minus 15 meters. And within that particular size itself, the nuclear force is acting. That's the reason why we tell it's a very short range force. And because of that, the nucleus is stable. It is responsible for the stability of the nucleus. Then I will talk about weak nuclear force, children, the fourth type of fundamental force. Weak nuclear force is the force encountered when reactions involving protons, electrons, and neutrons take place. So whenever there are reactions between protons, electrons, and neutrons, this type of force is acting, weak nuclear force. So let me give two examples for this. I will explain something new to you. Please stay attentive. Children, you know that inside a nucleus, what are the particles? Protons and neutrons. Yes or not? Let me explain a process called beta minus decay. This is beta, the symbol is beta minus decay. How it should be read? Beta minus decay. So what is this process? Let's see. A neutron is there. In beta minus decay, a neutron converts as proton. Remember, neutron converts as proton, and simultaneously a particle is emitted, which is the electron, and also another particle is emitted, antineutrino. This is what is called beta minus decay. A neutron converts into a proton. This is called beta minus decay. And in this process, what are the two particles emitted? Electron and antineutrino. And what is the force responsible, and or what is the force acting in this process? Weak nuclear force. Please remember, children, this question has come in the exam. Nobody expected this question to come in the exam, but they asked, what is the force responsible for beta minus decay? This was the question asked in the intermediate public exam. Answer, weak nuclear force. Okay. Similarly, I will explain one more process. Beta plus decay. Here, proton converts as neutron, and two more particles are released. Which are, one is positron and another one neutrino. This process is called beta plus decay. And again, the force which is acting in this process is weak nuclear force. The interactions are because of weak nuclear force. Okay, so I hope you understood. You will learn more about this processes in your second year and also in higher physics. So I hope you have all understood about the different types of fundamental forces: gravitational force, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, and the last one, weak nuclear force. Now, which is the strongest of all of these? Strong nuclear force. So I am putting up a graphic for you to remember the strength of these forces. Before that, some important points regarding the weak nuclear force. Weak nuclear force have a short range, much smaller than size of proton or neutron. They are stronger than gravitational force. They are weaker than the strong nuclear forces and electromagnetic forces. So weak nuclear force have short range, much smaller than size of proton or neutron. So you know, if you imagine the size of proton or neutron, these weak nuclear forces range is much smaller than that. That means the distance at which they can act is a very, very small distance. They are stronger than the gravitational forces. They are weaker than the strong nuclear forces and electromagnetic forces. So to remember this data, I am giving you this graphic, which is easy to remember, children. Let's see. I am using a pyramid, children, so that you will remember the strength of each and every, relative strength of each and every force. At the bottom of the pyramid, gravitational force. Next one, weak nuclear force. Next one, electromagnetic force. Next one, strong nuclear force. So what is at the top of the pyramid? Strong nuclear force. This is the strongest, remember. Easy to remember, children, very easy. Remember the pyramid, what I am teaching to you. What is at the top of the pyramid? Strong nuclear force. That means it is the strongest nuclear force. What is at the bottom of the pyramid? Gravitational force. It is the weakest of all the fundamental forces. So if you get a question like, let us say, what is the weakest fundamental force? Gravitational force. Don't tell the answer as weak nuclear force, because the word weak is there here. What is the weakest fundamental force? Gravitational force. You remember the pyramid. Pyramid. If you remember the pyramid, at the bottom, what is there? Gravitational force. That is the weakest. Next stronger force is weak nuclear force. Next stronger force is electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force, or more than electromagnetic force, which is a stronger force? Strong nuclear force. So this pyramid, if you remember, you will be easily answering all the questions related to the strength of fundamental forces. I hope you have understood. Let me move on. So let me also explain to you the nature of physical laws. For this, I am using a simple example, ball falling to the ground. You are seeing on the screen, there is a ball. Yes or not? That ball is falling to the ground. As the ball falls to the ground, you know that its potential energy decreases, kinetic energy increases, its speed increases. Yes or not? As its speed increases, kinetic energy will go on increasing. But the sum of the potential energy and kinetic energy, which is called mechanical energy, the total mechanical energy remains constant. The total mechanical energy is constant as the ball falls from the height to the ground level. Yes or not? So in this, you are able to see the total mechanical energy. What is total mechanical energy? Sum of potential energy and kinetic energy is constant under the action of a conservative force. So here the word conservative force, you will learn about it a little later in your intermediate first year. But this you already learned in 9th class, yes or not? You had a table where you are calculating potential energy and kinetic energy as the ball falls. And you were seeing that the sum of potential energy and kinetic energy is remaining constant. So this leads us to one important thing, conservation laws of nature. Here energy is constant, mechanical energy is constant. The word constancy means conservation. Constant means, meaning is what? What is the meaning? You tell me, all of you. It does not change. So as the ball falls, the total mechanical energy is constant. It remains constant. So this brings us to some important conservation laws of nature. Let me list some of them for you. Law of conservation of energy, which you already learned in school level. Law of conservation of linear momentum. This also you learned, but you will learn more detail in your first year intermediate. Law of conservation of angular momentum. This also you will learn about it in your first year intermediate. This angular momentum is a new term which you will be learning in your rotatory motion chapter. Okay. So I hope I have listed a few of them for your information. Please remember. Okay. Let's move on. So that brings me to the topic, symmetry of the laws of nature. So here, symmetry of the laws of nature. What does this mean? The laws of nature are same everywhere in the universe. Example, law of gravitation is the same on the moon and the earth. symmetry. Here, let me explain a little bit more about the word symmetry, what I am talking about here. Law of gravitation is the same on moon and the earth. F is gm1 m2 by r square. You have learnt no in your earlier part. The same law is applicable on the earth, on the moon. That means the laws of nature are same everywhere in the universe. This is very, very important point, children. Similarly, the word symmetry, I would like to talk a little bit more about the word symmetry here. I am asking you a simple question, children. Please answer. Here on the screen, you are able to see, for example, the ball falling towards the ground. For example, I calculate, I am doing this experiment in my physics lab and there is vacuum conditions. Okay. And the ball is falling towards the ground. And let us say the ball took 5 seconds to fall towards the ground. And the ball reached the ground after 5 seconds. The same experiment in the same physics lab under the same vacuum conditions, if I do after 1 year time, how much, and if the ball is falling from the same height to the ground, can you tell me in how many seconds it will reach the ground? Tell me. Yes, your guess is right. It will again come down in the same 5 seconds. This is the beauty of physics laws. It takes same amount of time, no matter when you have done the experiment. That means under identical conditions, the results of experiment are also going to be same. Whether you do it today, whether you do it tomorrow, or whether you do it 1 year later. And similarly, I want to stress one more point, children. Whether you do the experiment in your physics lab or whether you do the experiment in some other physics lab or at some other place, like for example, I did the experiment of, that is what, this ball falling towards the ground. I did this experiment in TSMS Turkapalli under vacuum conditions, and the ball is falling from height 10 meters. I got, or let us say some height, and it is reaching in 5 seconds. Similarly, I did the experiment in some TSMS, let us say some Valigonda. Will I get the same result? Yes, I will get the same result if the conditions are identical. What do you mean by conditions? Conditions are identical. Same vacuum condition and same height, and the ball falling towards the ground. If the conditions are identical, then the results are going to be identical. This is the beauty of the laws of nature. There is symmetry. There is symmetry in time. There is symmetry in space. This is what is the meaning of symmetry. Results being identical. So let me move on, children. So I am coming to the final parts of my lesson. I am listing some physicists and their major contributions. The name on the left side, the major contribution or discovery on the right side. Archimedes. Yes, you remember Archimedes' principle, right or not? He is famous for his principle of buoyancy and lever. First order lever, second order lever, third order lever. Yes or not? That is what he is famous for. Galileo Galilei. He is famous for his law of inertia. Isaac Newton. Who can forget Newton, children? Nobody can forget. Yes or not? So, universal law of gravitation and laws of motion. Everybody know first law of motion, second law of motion, and third law of motion. And he is also given a reflecting telescope. This you will learn in your intermediate second year. Michael Faraday, 10th class. You remember laws of electromagnetic induction. He is the person who has given the laws of electromagnetic induction. Okay. Just a minute, children. James Clerk Maxwell, electromagnetic theory. Hertz, generation of electromagnetic waves. Röntgen, very famous, X-rays, yes or not? You remember X-rays? Yes, whenever we have a broken bone, we take an X-ray. And who is the person who has invented that? Who has discovered the X-rays? Röntgen, W.K. Röntgen. Okay, let's see some more. J.C. Bose, Jagdish Chandra Bose. He is famous for his contribution in the field of short radio waves. Mary S. Curie, you will hear more about her in your chemistry, children. Discovery of radium and polonium, study of natural radioactivity. So Albert Einstein, most famous person, most famous physicist. Yes or not? So Albert Einstein, what is he famous for? Explanation of photoelectric effect and theory of relativity. And on the graphic, I am putting up two more very, very famous people in our country. C.V. Raman. What is he famous for? Inelastic scattering of light by molecules, also known as Raman effect. You remember Raman effect in your school level? Is famous for that. And similarly, S. Chandrasekhar, Subramaniam Chandrasekhar. Chandrasekhar limit, and he is also famous for his studies on structure and evolution of stars. So these are the some of the names of the scientists whom I have listed here and physicists. I request all of you to go through your textbook, study more about, know more about different physicists and their work. That is how I got interested in physics. The more I am looking at their fields of study, the more I am feeling interested in physics. So let me move on. On the screen, a person whose photograph almost all the school children know. Who is he, children? C.V. Raman. Yes. He was awarded Nobel Prize in Physics, Nobel Prize for Physics in 1930 year for his Raman effect. So what is Raman effect? Please remember, it's an important point for the exam. It deals with scattering of light by molecules of a medium when they are excited to vibrational energy levels. You studied scattering in school level, yes or not? The scattering of light by molecules of a medium meaning here a substance, when they are excited to vibrational levels, vibrational energy levels. So when the molecules are excited to vibrational energy levels, whatever light they are scattering, this Raman effect deals with that. You will learn more about it in your second year intermediate, children. But please remember what is Raman effect actually here. Okay. Next, on the screen, you are able to see nice photograph of beautiful diamonds, sparkling diamonds. What does diamonds have to do with our lesson? It has it has a lot of connection, children. Raman effect, just now I listed, no. Raman effect has many applications in the field of science. One of the applications is in the field of study of gems and mining. It has also its application in field of that is drug chemistry, medicines, and all these things. Raman effect is very important effect in the field of science. I request all of you to go through internet for understanding more applications of Raman effect. So you can Google it and try to understand more about Raman effect and its implication and its applications. Okay, to make you more interested, I have just put up this graphic. Let me move on. And another famous person, S. Chandrasekhar, children. So he was also a Nobel Prize winner, and he was awarded Nobel Prize for Physics in 1983. So he is a astrophysicist. That means his basic work is in the field of astrophysics, and he is famous for something called as Chandrasekhar limit. He proposed Chandrasekhar limit related to the structure and evolution of stars. So what is Chandrasekhar limit? It is the maximum mass that a white dwarf can have. It is 1.4 times mass of the sun. So here Chandrasekhar limit is actually the maximum mass that a white dwarf star can have. So a white dwarf star, if its mass exceeds 1.4 times, there is a possibility that it can become a black hole. Yes, this word you heard in science, yes or not? Black hole. See, one nice photograph of black hole. Nice image of black hole. See, what is a black hole? When a star collapses, it becomes a black hole. What do you mean by a star collapsing? When all the energy in the star is exhausted, there is a possibility that it can become a black hole. So a black hole actually means nothing can escape from inside the black hole. It is such an object. Okay, you will learn more about it in your physics. Okay, let me move on. So in the concluding part, I will like to explain to you the pattern of IIT JEE mains question paper. Some students, in fact, many of our students have attempted IIT JEE mains examination from our model schools. So let me just explain to you the pattern of the question paper, which was followed in year 2020 children. The maximum marks were 300 for the BE BTech paper. Okay. It consists of 3 sections mainly: Maths, Physics and Chemistry. Maths, Physics, Maths, Physics and Chemistry. If you take Maths, there are 20 multiple choice questions with single answer type answer. That means you will be given 4 options and one of the answer is correct. That is called multiple choice question with single answer. And there will be 5 questions with answers as numerical value. So 20 plus 5, 25 questions. But please remember here children, the important thing, MCQs carry plus 4 marks each with -1 mark for wrong answer. That means if you write the correct answer, plus 4 marks, and if you give the wrong answer, -1 will be deducted. That means there is negative marking for the 20 MCQs. Whereas for this 5 MCQs, numericals carry plus 4 marks with no negative marking. That means even if you give the wrong answer also, there is no negative marking for these 5 questions, only these 5 questions, not for all of them. Okay, and plus 4 marks for the right answer. So 20 plus 5, total 25 questions. And that is the same pattern for physics as well as chemistry. So totally you will have 25 questions in maths, 25 questions in physics, 25 questions in chemistry. And all these 3 will be on the same day. And I hope all of you know, since you have already come to your intermediate level, IIT JEE questions paper, actually IIT JEE mains, whatever we are calling it, it was conducted twice in the year, once in the month of January, once in the month of April. That is a general pattern followed. Okay, and IIT JEE BE BTech paper, that is what I have shown you on the screen here. It is a CBT, computer based test. Okay, it is a CBT. So JEE main 2020 will be conducted. This is what is the information I have gathered from the notification, JEE main notification. For BE BTech, it is a computer based test only. And there will be also other papers, which is for, one is for B architecture, one is for B planning. Okay. So for B architecture, mathematics part 1 will be there, aptitude part 2 will be there, and computer based test in the computer based manner. And there will be also drawing, which will be in a pen and paper based offline. Okay. And you can also attempt B planning, which is which has mathematics as part 1, aptitude test as part 2, and planning based questions as part 3 in computer based test mode. But I would like you to remember the first one, A, BE BTech, because most of the children go for BE BTech. Okay. So I hope I have given you sufficient information regarding the IIT JEE mains examination. Most of our model school MPC students are attempting this examination. I hope this year also people prepare well and attempt the exam. So that brings us to the concluding part of this session. What have we learned? Let's see. Fundamental force in nature. What are the fundamental forces in nature? Number 1, gravitational force. Number 2, electromagnetic force. Number 3, strong nuclear force. Number 4, weak nuclear force. Strong nuclear force is the strongest force in nature. Raman effect. It deals with the scattering of light by molecules of a medium when they are excited to vibrational energy levels. Chandrasekhar limit. It is a maximum mass that a white dwarf can have. It is 1.4 times the mass of the sun. So to test your understanding, here are a very few questions. Number 1, what are the fundamental forces in nature? What is the discovery of C.V. Raman? What is the discovery of C.V. Raman? What is the contribution of S. Chandrasekhar to physics? So thank you, children. Thank you all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I sincerely thank my coordinator, sir, and also Manjari madam, coordinator, sir, Srikant Garu, and also Manjari madam for all their inputs and support. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our campus principal, Sri Slivaraj Garu, for his support and good wishes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Subramaniam Garu. It was a very wonderful session. It was almost like that you were talking to children in front of you. Hope all students have followed the lesson. I wish that you will continue the same type of work, and we are very happy to have you in our webinar team. Thank you, Subramaniam Garu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the kind words. Thank you, sir. Good day, children.